Greetings and welcome to Refuge Depot, where we address current events and issues that will help us to understand that this is a serious time and a time that we need to begin to prepare ourselves and our family and our mind and our body and so much more for, difficult times to say the least. And so today we're going to be talking about a serious topic, and that is America headed for civil unrest? And I wrote on the flyer a quote from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, where he stated, the United States of America is moving closer and closer to great civil strife, unrest, and bloodshed. Although the American people are supposed to be citizens of one nation, the division between labor and management is growing more intense. The division between the haves and the have-nots is getting wider and wider, and the breach is being filled with hatred. The division between politics, right and left, so-called Christians, right and left, liberals, conservatives, and all the many causes that people are giving themselves to, whether social, religious, or political, are now beginning to show signs of bloodshed. And so this is a very serious time, of course, that we are living in right now. And so we want to discuss, this topic in its seriousness. And I'm going to be joined by Mr. Aaron Olinger, and I'll bring him on. And we'll be joined by Mr. Sanford Whitlow, who will be joining us later on in the program. And so greetings, Brother Aaron.
How's it going, Steve?
Oh, it's going well. It's going well. Like, many that I go and talk to throughout the day, one of the things that everybody is talking about is this weather. I know that in Ohio, we've always had weather that fluctuates between cold and hot, dry and rainy. But of late, people have really been feeling it. And I think that, this is all, a sign that the wise should take note of. But today, of course, we're going to be talking about, is America headed for civil strife? And I'm going to play this clip. But before we do, let the people know a little bit about yourself.
Me? Oh, well, I've been doing prepping now for since I was 4 years old. My parents first started training me.
Mm,
So gardening, uh, shooting, using different weapons from nunchucks all the way down to archery. I mean, I'm deeply embedded in the whole system, and I just, before life ends, I'd like to share that knowledge with people and try to help people to be able to adapt to the changing times that we're in. So I'll stop there, Steve.
okay. All right. Fantastic. All right. And so let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and get into this clip. And like I say, this clip is from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, A Torchlight for America, where he addressed the same subject that we're addressing right now. And that was in Savior's Day, 1992. So let's go ahead and take a listen to what the minister has to say here. All right.
Well, what's happening with the development of the people?
See if I can turn it up some.
The American people being properly developed. The institutions that serve us, nurturing us along the lines that God would have us nurtured. America's schools have fallen behind almost every industrialized country. Almost 20% of today's youth drop out of school. About 90% of those who stay graduate incompetent in reading, comprehension, math, and science, contributing to a society of nearly 20% functional illiterates. It's difficult to walk the school grounds or even the school building hallways without being robbed or threatened by someone with a gun or a knife. With all of these problems, it's clear to me, and it should be clear to you, that this country is in serious trouble. And it's not just on a sick bed, but the vital sign shows she's gasping for life. And with all of these problems, you would think that the leadership would be coming up with creative solutions for the people. But instead of facing the truth and focusing in on fixing the problems, the leadership engages in what's called gridiron politics and scapegoating of the poor. And if a person comes along with a realistic solution, they call the solution radical and the person an extremist. I ask you, if your vital signs physically look like America's economically, would you want business as usual? Would you want moderation? Or would you want to see some scurrying around as you see in the emergency room when there's a life-threatening situation? It will take radical solutions when you're at death's door. The president has become a cheerleader. We're number one. We're still number one. It's really pathetic to see a man of his knowledge and brilliance reduced to a cheerleader. He can't run on his record because he's a part of the record of Reagan and Bush, which is sinking the country. So he must become a cheerleader, reminding the silly voters, don't you remember? We're number one. We're number one. We can't have a long, protracted surgery on America's condition. These problems need to be fixed, and fixed right away. Brothers and sisters, if the people knew their condition, they would be willing to take the proper medicine no matter how bad it tastes, if that medicine would correct the condition. I know you like me, I don't like medicine. But if I'm sick and I want to get well, I'll take it. It tastes bad, I hold my nose, give it to me. Because all that a man has will he give for his life. The American people would be willing to sacrifice if they knew the truth. If a doctor told you that you were fine and you were severely ill, and that doctor would not prescribe the proper medicine for your illness, that doctor could be charged and found guilty of malpractice. But what about a president who makes you think everything is fine and you're sick, and he won't prescribe the proper medicine or solution to relieve the country of its ill? What about the malpractice of a leader of a country? How did America in the last 12 years go from the leading creditor nation to the leading debtor nation? The American taxpayer is a slave to servicing a skyrocketing debt, a debt that is so large that it sentences the children in the future to the same servitude to this debt, because the politicians are not courageous enough to deal honestly with this problem and present the American people with a real solution. It's dangerous, brothers and sisters, to enslave a people and be the perpetual source of opposition to truth, and yet say you believe in God. God has always come to the aid of the oppressed and the enslaved, even against the rich and the powerful, when they deprive others of the essentials of life, which is freedom, justice, and equality. That which you say constitutes the base of this country. When the slaves were enamored with the riches of Pharaoh, Moses wasn't able to get his people to listen to him until Moses prayed for God's hand to be set against the wealth of Egypt. The more Egypt declined, the more the slaves incline their ears to the message of Moses. That's right. To get up and go for self. That's right. Well, come on. You like that? Yes. Elijah Muhammad told us years and years ago. He said, get up, black man, and do for yourself before you're forced to do it. He showed us and told us that the plants would close and we would be outside those plants looking for a job. He said, pool your resources, hurry! And we sported and played. But now Pharaoh's got a problem. The rich man is hurting. Now your ears are more inclined, and your heart is more inclined to a message to get you up and doing for yourself.
All right. Let's see here. All right. Let me go ahead and take that on off. And let me see. There we go. Put myself back on here. All right. And so let's go ahead and get into this discussion. The link to watch that full video is in the description, and you can watch the entire video there. You can type in Torchlight for America. He also did another version of that same message on C-SPAN, and you can watch a number of different lectures from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on C-SPAN. And so let's go ahead and bring our brothers back on. And we are also joined by our Brother Sanford. Greetings, brother.
How you brothers doing?
Oh, we doing well.
Great.
How about yourself?
Outstanding. Had a little technical difficulties. Had to restart the computer and everything.
I saw that. You know, we see things from behind the scenes, but you got it going. You sound good, sound crisp. So let's go ahead and get on into this. So I did a little bit of research on indicators of a nation in decline, and from an economic, political, social, and geopolitical point of view. So I'll just run through a few of these, some of the top ones. So the economic, as far as economic decline, it says that stagnant or shrinking GDP, persistent low growth, recession, or contractions over time, high debt levels, currency devaluation, declining productivity, unemployment and underemployment, dependency on imports. Some of, as far as political instability, it talks about eroding institutions, rise in authoritarianism, chronic corruption, policy paralysis. As far as social fragmentation, it talks about rising inequality, loss of social trust, demographic collapse, meaning aging population, cultural decay. As far as the political weakness, it says that loss of influence, declining diplomatic power, dependency on rivals, territorial disintegration, infrastructure and public services decline. It says a crumbling infrastructure, collapsing healthcare and education. And lastly, I'll do with, yeah, that's it. That's it right there. So, and I just read just the highlights of it, and we can get more into it. But, you know, when we, you know, hear these things, it definitely appears that, you know, the category is checked off almost every one that we're looking at in America today. So this is, of course, why we're doing this topic, because as we look at this decline, you know, are we looking at, of course, civil unrest on top of all that we are seeing going on in the world? But I'll just open it up to you gentlemen and let you go ahead and interject what you would like to say as well.
I'll let you go first, Sanford.
Well, let's talk about what civil unrest is first. Have we defined what civil unrest actually is?
No, we didn't define that.
Okay. Well, so civil unrest is when the civilians become disconnected or disengaged with the government or how the government is run, and through that, their actions start becoming things that are disruptive to the public. So that's what civil unrest actually is.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at what civil unrest is, yeah, I think, and I was doing some research a little earlier today, and I took China, for instance, and I took China after COVID. And one thing that we don't ever get here is real world news.
Right.
So, yeah, we're having a real problem here. But when I look at other countries like China and Russia, they got the exact same problems we got. I think what we really in for is not just a civil unrest. I think we're in for a worldwide unrest.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because let's take the economy, for instance, as we have struggles in our economy right now. And the president said today, and I appreciate his honesty. He said, this is probably going to take 2 hard years to get this thing right. And something me and Aaron talked about doing Reaganomics in the Reagan years. But and I did some research on China. They got the exact same problem. I think that in its totality, the world is in trouble. And I don't want to get super religious or anything, but I think the further we get away from God, the closer we get to unrest.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's inevitable. I think the things that we're doing, that the government's doing, not necessarily helping it. I think that the government, the economic state of the United States, is so far gone that people don't realize how bad it is. So now when you got to make tough decisions to turn it around, it appears that this is going way off the charts. Well, what has been happening, this has been covered up for years. So during that time period, yeah, I think the possibility of civil unrest is very probable, but I think it's not just here. I think it's everywhere. And the fact that we don't see it, we don't get their news the way we get our news. So we get tidbits. And regardless of how much social media awareness we have, or social media chance to look at other people's things, everything's not being shown. You got countries like we'll take China, that's a communist run nation. There's certain things they're not going to show you. So take, for instance, their TikTok. What they see on TikTok is not the same version of what we get on TikTok.
Right.
So that applies to everything that's going on. So
yeah,
I think we're in trouble as a whole. And I think that what we're going to see, I think we're going to see pockets of civil unrest everywhere in the world. And I don't think everywhere in the world is going to show it. I think it's going to be other countries are going to isolate it where you don't get to see what's happening there. But when we get back to us, yeah, it's on its way. And we always say you better be ready so you don't have to get ready. Well, now you got to get ready stage. There may be 90 days. There may be 120 days. You better get ready now so you can be ready.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And one of the things that I wanted to pull out from what you were talking about is, freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is one of, I would say, very vital to any type of democracy is when you have, sorry about that, still got your name scrolling up there. But when you have a freedom of speech, you have a society that is able to grow, a society that is able to express itself and address issues that may, in some people's mind, may be the cause of issues or trouble looking at the future. So, one of the things that I'm looking at in America is really like the curtailing of the freedom of speech, especially when it comes down to criticizing some of America's foreign policy, some of America's allegiances, if you will, or connections. And so I think that this is, and when we see, for instance, the college students. Now, when you think about a college campus, I've always thought of a college campus as a place where freedom of speech reigns supreme, because you're in an environment where you can do debates, you have all of this, and you see a lot of activism on college campuses. But what I believe we've seen recently, happening to college students, and them being labeled, anti-Semitic, for instance, because of their protest of what they believe is genocide. And on in the mainstream media, framing them in that type of light. I think that this right here is definitely something that is a sign that America is heading down a road where it's no longer a free and open society, and that it's rights are being curtailed under the fear of a number of different things. But I'll go ahead, Brother Aaron, and let you go ahead and say something on this subject.
Well, right now, and again, having lived through a similar period under Reaganomics, it was 3 years of hell to have 5 years of prosperity.
Mm.
The United States is going back toward nationalism. We're
Mm-hmm.
moving away and we're unplugging from the globalist system. That's what these tariffs are going to help do, is to make us be self-sufficient again. I understand what's going on. I understand that there's going to be a certain amount of pain that's going to happen, because when the stock market under Reagan dropped 1,200 points, 3 weeks later, I was out in the street for 3 years.
Mm.
So I can actually relate. Now, yesterday, the stock market dropped. We're talking the Dow. It dropped 1,500 something points. Today, it was down over 2,000. I don't remember a single time in my life that the Dow dropped 2,000. So I could say that we're on the outer edge of a possible collapse. But is this a controlled collapse to bring us back away from this globalist system that's wrecking us? We need to find our own identity once again. When your advanced strategies are not working, you automatically go back to basics. You go back, you start redoing the basics, and then work up from there. And right now, we're going back to basics, and we're going to work our way back up. We're going to reindustrialize. We're going to do certain things, but there's going to be a period of pain, and people need to expect that. Now, under Reagan, there's massive unemployment. And when people couldn't make money from the system, they're going to make it off the system one way or the other. So, I expect to see crime go up as people get laid off. I mean, after COVID, we saw a bunch of jobs that everywhere you went, there's jobs everywhere. I've never seen a time like that in my life, that all these companies were hiring and nobody seemed to want to fill the jobs. Well, after what the stock market did yesterday and today, I can tell you right now, there's going to be some massive layoffs, because for every 800 to 1,200 points the Dow drops, that's a full year of retained earnings that a corporation just lost. And until they make up those losses, they're going to have to cut the workforce. They're going to have to get slim and mean. And that's going to put a lot of people out there in the street where you might think, well, I wouldn't want to work that job. Here shortly, about 6 months from now, you're going to be hard pressed to find a job. Even the waiter and waitresses jobs are going to be filled. Under Reagan, you couldn't find a job nowhere because everything was filled up. And there's a lot of people that was out of work, that was in the unemployment line. And the thing about unemployment is you're only going to get it for 6 months to a year. And unless Congress votes you an extension, when it runs out, you drop through the system. You are no longer counted as being unemployed if you're not receiving unemployment benefits. They just no longer count you. So it would appear when they say, well, unemployment's down to 4%. Well, how many thousands drop through the system that are no longer counted? They're still unemployed, but because they don't receive benefits, we don't count them on the accounting ledger. I mean, that's an accounting trick.
Mm-hmm.
So I do expect to see violence is going to ensue, mostly due to people feeling that they can take from others. And I say there's going to be a percentage of people out there that's not going to find work. About 6 or 8 months from now, they're going to be hard pressed to find a job. And when people can't work, they're going to get violent. So yeah, I can see where things is going to get kind of sporty out there on the streets. But I'll stop there.
Yeah. And you know, I just wanted to, you know, chime on to that, is that a lot of revolutions that we see take place in the world start off when the bread lines start to increase and people start getting hungry. And they say that there's a chemical that is in your body that when you get hungry, you get angry. And as I've said on many programs, that a hungry dog doesn't fear the stick. And so I think that, you know, when we're looking at all of these layoffs that are occurring, and when you think about it, thousands are being laid off, and many of their jobs have already been replaced by artificial intelligence. So, you know, now they were talking about, for instance, the student loan defaults. They said that in past years you had like 1 million defaults a year, and they said that this year you're looking at 5 million defaults. And what happens under defaults? Then the government or some agency goes in and they begin to take money from your check to pay on that defaulted loan. And so now we're looking at a situation where you know, people can't find a job, and there's already a number of homeless, and I'll find that. But listen to some of this. It says the wealth gap. It says the top 1% own 32% of wealth, while the bottom 50% own just 2%, 2.6%. That was in 2024 when that stat was given. It says the cost of living, 62% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 62% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 50% of renters spend 30% of income on housing. And it says that 70% of Americans believe that the economy is rigged for the rich. That's 70%. And we see this. I remember when they had the Wall Street, the Wall Street protests, you know, and things from that point on haven't gotten any better. In fact, they've gotten worse, because now people are talking about the government being an oligarchy, where it's being ruled by the rich and the wealthy. And when we seen the Trump's speech, we saw Google, we saw Meta, we saw Elon Musk, we saw those Bezos. So we saw these tech giants there. And so I think that the American people have a lot to be worried about when it comes down to growth, job growth, because what type of jobs are coming back? But I'll let you all go ahead and say anything to that.
Well, I know
we
some
got,
of the
go ahead, Aaron.
automobile companies, Hyundai and some of the others, in order to avoid the tariffs, they're getting ready to build plants over here to bring those automobile jobs back. Those were good paying jobs. I mean, they paid a lot more than the $8 to $12 an hour that some of these jobs that were created in the past 2 years, that's all that they pay. You almost have to work 2 of them. And if you're working 2 of them, you're not at home raising your children properly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
uh, I'm looking forward to seeing us become reindustrialized. We need to be making our own pharmaceuticals here, not counting on India and China who can cut us off. Quit counting on all these countries that when they cut off the spigot, we're in trouble. I mean, like right now, the dollar stores, Walmart, Target, different ones. If China cannot ship their products in here, those particular businesses are going to suffer because they've made their living off of importing stuff from China. When Walmart
Right.
was first came about under Sam Walton, Walmart only sold American made goods. But when Sam Walton died, the board of directors switched to China stuff, and they almost sealed their own fate. Because if we go back to making the stuff ourselves and they are landlocked into contracts with China, well, hey, you're not going to get products where other startup businesses out there like Amazon and things is going to put a daggone blasted hole in your pocket because Amazon is delivering straight to your door. Where with Walmart, you got to go out and shop. So,
Right.
I mean, different companies coming about now. I mean, and when you look at what Walmart did when they first came out, they put a hole in a lot of mom and pop stores. I mean,
Yeah.
they could underprice them, and they put a
Yeah.
lot of them out of business. The strong survives, the weak dies. I mean, that's the normal way that things go. And if you're not smart enough to take a hard look at technology, which way is it going, then your job may go with it. I mean, like I said, when I was in high school, key punch operator job was one of the best jobs you could have.
Yeah.
When computers came about and they modernized them, they didn't need key punch operators no more. I mean, when the what do you call them? When those discs
Yeah.
came out that you put movies on,
Right. Blu-ray and
Blockbuster
all of that.
Video. Blockbuster Video went to the area of extinction because between Netflix and those little compact discs that you can put movies on, there was no need for Blockbuster no more. I
Right.
mean, you have to adapt to change or you're not going to make it.
So I
And
mean, I
people out
definitely
there,
agree.
yeah, people
And
out there
you
is going
know,
to college right now. If you're going to college, you should be looking at which way are we going to be going? Which way is technology going to be going? And you better switch your major to that if you want to be guaranteed a job. Otherwise, you can graduate and come out here and be one to functionally illiterate because there's no job available for you in the field of study that you went into.
right.
Your job became obsolete. Your field of study became obsolete. So people better be ready to adapt because there's an old saying: it's not the strong that will survive. It's not the smartest that will survive. It's the people who can adapt to change the quickest. Those are going to be the ones that are going to survive. I'll stop
That-
there.
You know, Aaron,
yeah.
we to hit on that real quick. You know, we started doing this to ourselves a long time ago, and I can't blame the government for that. I'm talking about, you know, and I always said this. You know, people will say, "Well, you're not supposed to control your child's life. You're not supposed." You know what? I wish my kid would come to me and say, "I'm gonna get a degree in basket weaving," and I wish they would. No, not under my watch. You're not gonna do that. As a parent, I got a big responsibility to keep you from losing your damn mind. I never forget when I used to work for the Department of Corrections and had a partner, friend of mine. We worked together, named Dave. Yeah, nickname was Short Butts. Good dude, man. Dave had a master's degree. Let me tell you, with his master's degree and what he had, he made more money as a corrections officer than he would have with the master's degree that he obtained. He spent all that money to go to school and made more money as a CO in a prison than what his degree would pay. So, you know, when you talk about, you know, reinventing ourselves, that's what we're doing. We just reinventing ourselves, and it's gonna happen. It's you know, it's not gonna be as bad as people think. It's gonna be bad, but not as bad as people think. Because if as we reinvent ourselves, those other countries are gonna have to. Because if we're not using their resources, they got to. You know, we use more resources for other countries than anybody, which is something we don't have to do. Which is something we need. And like I said, we got to take it on the chin for a while, but we can reinvent ourselves. Um, and, and, you know, when you talk about, you know, reinventing ourselves, and it's going to happen. It's not going to be as bad as people think because if we're not using their resources, they got to. You know, we use more resources for other countries than anybody, which is something we don't have to do. Which is something we need. And like I said, we got to take it on the chin for a while, but we can reinvent ourselves. So those monkey degrees they've been giving out, and you can get a degree in anything today. You can get a degree. They got a degree, man, that's made for like something to do with chocolate, where you become a chocolate expert. Man, how in the hell, excuse my French, you gonna live off telling somebody about some damn chocolate? I'm not going for that, man. So I mean, so that's been self-induced. We have a society that we made soft. And we've made it too comfortable for years. It's been getting comfortable ever since the late 80s, early 90s. We start turning to comfort again. We want to feel good, you know, and outsourcing became easy. I think it's time to tighten up your bootstraps, step up and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, because we have too many natural resources, too many things here that we could be providing to other nations.
Right. So, I mean, I agree. I agree with what you all are saying. And of course, you know, I gotta, you know, so one of the issues that I see is that Ross, do you all remember Ross Perot?
Yeah.
He was a third party candidate. And, you know, once again, America is somewhat hypocritical talking about democracy because they shut out third party candidates. They shut them out financially, and they shut them out through the mainstream media that won't even give them airplay. But Ross Perot talked about a giant sucking sound because under the Democrats, they were talking about this program called NAFTA. NAFTA was a program that allowed factories to relocate into cheaper labor markets. So now you have cheaper labor markets. And what many people don't know is you have the prison industrial complex, which is also a cheap labor market right here in the United States. That coupled with, of course, this is a capitalistic society and everyone can understand that. However, America slowly began to allow what's called monopolies. These monopolies were able to crush, or they were able to absorb or buy up these small companies. And so, like you all are saying, for instance, with Walmart was getting was able, because the Walmart family is very wealthy, and so they were able to buy products in bulk, and that allowed them from China. They were buying these products from China for the most part, that cheap labor market. Then they would come into small towns, and I remember small towns were protesting to not allow Walmarts into their small towns because of why? Because they would undercut the ma and pa bicycle shop. They would undercut the ma and pa clothing store where clothes were handmade. And so America, to a large degree, has done this to itself because of greed. And so this is one of the problems that I see. So if America is to come back, then there has to be some type of recentering our motives. You know what I'm saying? Where it's not greed or gross self-interest, if you will. So that's what I wanted to interject into what you all are saying. If you want, I'll read this. It says about an extreme political polarization. It says two Americas, right? It says 62% of Americans say they have no or very few close friends from opposing party. 52% of Republicans and 41% of Democrats believe those in the other party are not just wrong, but evil. Evil, right? So radicalization, 566 active extremist groups in the U.S. from the Southern Poverty Law Center. That's 566. 300 plus militia groups now operate up from 50 in 2008. And so now, like I said, we're seeing this polarization where people can't even see, they can't see at all the other person's side, and to go so far as to think or to believe that the other is evil, the other is demonic. And so that, I think, right there is of course, very yeah. And yeah, so I'll just leave that there if you all want to comment on that.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that people know what NAFTA was or what it is?
That's the thing. I think that a lot of people, I think that the education system does a very poor job because education should equip you to be able to function in a society where that you're able to make a living for yourself. But for the most part, we're educated, and you can look up how Rockefeller took over the whole education system and made it a system to where you're really a clog in the system, where you're really an automaton, where you really, you go to school to learn in a way that will help you fit into a industrialized society, and not to think outside of the box and to create jobs for yourself. So I think that when it comes down to politics, I mean, I think that when you think about the three branches of government, and you ask the average American, I don't think they would know what those three branches are, or what their duty is, what they're supposed to do. So I think that anything other than that just goes right up under the table for most people, just trying to survive.
Let me ask you a question. I asked Aaron earlier. Have you did you see the results of the gold visa program that the president put in effect today?
I did see that. I hadn't got a chance to look into it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was mentioning something to Aaron. A lot of people don't know about that. So it opened up this morning, right? The gold visa program. Today they took in 1,000 people, and it was $5 billion raised.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know some people, I talked to some people earlier about it, and you can talk about how uneducated we are. So, there are over 25 countries that do this already. People don't realize that this is not nothing that President Trump created. There are over 25 countries that do this. And I think it started like in 2013. That's when it first started. And some of the wealthiest countries have put themselves in that position for this particular program. And what the gold visa program does, it offers an opportunity for very wealthy people in the world, because I'm talking about unimaginable money, to come into your country and get a visa into your country with the promise of opening up a business and employing a certain amount of people and investing a certain amount into your country. And I think that's one thing that people need to know that's happening right now. So when they hear it, they need to educate themselves on. Don't think it's just something that the president now is currently creating, or like it's some arrogant move. Some of the greatest countries in the world have a gold visa program. Canada has a gold visa program. UAE, where Dubai is, has a gold visa program, which is one of the ways they got a chance to turn around like that. But like Spain, I think the first one, I got a note here, the first countries to do it, to try to help the economy flip, was Greece, Spain, and Hungary. Changed the whole economic status of their country within 3 years of implementing the gold visa program. I like that idea. I like that it's being done. Now, I think social media hypes it up a certain kind of way to make you think it's a certain kind of exclusive thing, and the arrogance of our country is doing it. But that's happening all over the world. Some of the major powers. I was looking at something else too. I was talking about, we talk about tariffs and stuff. And the reason I asked about the NAFTA thing, you think people know, The one thing I would like us to be able to do is when we bring up something, to explain people exactly what it is, so they know where it comes from, or what it is. Because I think a lot of times people will listen to us and they're going to learn something, but I don't think they know the origin or region of some of the things that we bring up. That's why I asked you that. So if I do that, it's just to try to bring people up to speed who may be tuning in now, because we are really offering something that's a little different. A lot of people are not even aware of some of the things we're talking about, and they have to look them up, or they may not look them up as we go along. So like when I brought the Gold Visa program, that's why I said I know that was a big thing in the news today for some people who are economists, but people who hear about it trickle down, they think, well, what the hell are we doing? Selling something for $5 million. Well, we're not the first country to do it, and it's been going on for years. Yeah, back before we even had taxes. This is actually how we functioned when people came here from other places. So I just want to bring that up and let that be known. I think we got a lot of work to do, brothers, but on the flip side, this is the way we have to reset to bring the think box back to America. We have to do it. What Aaron said earlier about we have to use and educate our people in things that are to come.
Yeah, I definitely agree that there has to definitely be a reset. And so I did a little bit of research on how that reset has to look to a certain degree. And I want to try to find that. Yeah, let me see here. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
And something else, as Aaron was talking about. Now, I think social media is doing us a disservice too by not telling us about the probability of violent increases. Aaron and myself were talking a little earlier, and the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office just said in the last 30 days, they've had car thefts multiplied 2.5 times. And they discovered some cars are being shipped to other states where they're making new VIN numbers and everything, and they're selling them to markets. And then they go into some dealers who have ties with overseas companies, and they're shipping the cars overseas and selling the cars overseas. I think, and that's not a grassroots level of crime. I think what Aaron is talking about is true, man. I think you could be coming out the store with your groceries and somebody gonna say they used to be yours.
Absolutely.
I think that's coming. I think that you better wake up. I think you better get yourself some kind of training. You better get yourself some kind of protection. You better inform your family, your daughters and your wives and your sons.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that things are going to I think that things are just going to get worse before they get better, only because of the mentality that we have right in America today. You know, a lot of the generation that you see coming up are Jerry Springer generation, and that's how they know how to solve their issues. You know, and so listen to this: can America avoid collapse? And it says possible solutions, as you all were talking about. Economic reforms. They talk about universal health care, wage growth, and affordable housing. So for America to be the richest country, you know, the homeless rate is out of control. It's ridiculous. And these are not homeless individuals who have some type of mental disorder. These are homeless individuals, families that in some cases are working 2 jobs or even 3 jobs, particularly out in California, where the cost of living is out of many people's ability to sustain. So they're living in tent cities. That is ridiculous. So the minimum wage, and I don't even know what the minimum wage is. I think it's still something under $8 something, but they did a living wage across the states. And for many of the states, you have to at least be making $15, $16 to even have a living wage. So I think that that's one of the things, the universal health care, you know, whether people like it or not. You know, countries like Libya under Muammar Gaddafi had universal health care. They had even a situation where they paid for people's education, and so many other things. So when it comes down to America's healthcare system, you know, for us to be paying so much and to be such a sick country, let you know that this is all profit driven. And I think that that's the real issue for America's fall, is everything is profit driven and is profit over people. Um, the political reconciliation, it says ranking choice voting, anti-gerrymandering laws. It says as far as social healing, community policing, media literacy, and national service programs. And then as far as law enforcement prep, it says better riot control and counter extremist efforts. So those are some of the ways that steps that America can avoid to collapse. But yeah, this is, yeah, there definitely has to be a turnaround. I think, especially in the educational system, I think it definitely has to start with family and education, because the family, you know, and of course I have nothing to say as far as the LGBTQ plus community, but I do know that the L, the G, the B, the T, the Q, and the plus all came from a man and a woman. And there wouldn't be no LGBTQ plus if it wasn't for a family structure with a man and a woman raising a child. A man, a physical, a male, and a woman, a female, raising that family. And yeah, if America doesn't fix the family structure, then it's over with.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna add something here, Steve. What you said is valid about the cost of living being so high in California. I mean, Florida would be somewhere else where cost of living is high. When I saw a lot of people losing their jobs under Reagan, everybody moved, and there was a big migration from the auto parts plants that were laying off and the foundries that were shutting down and defense contractors that were shutting down. Everybody was going to Texas because Texas had all these jobs.
Mm,
And, you could have stayed where you were and suffered, or you could have made a decision to roll the dice and gamble and go somewhere else where there was plenty of jobs and uh, the cost of living would be that much cheaper. Why would I stay in California or New York or Florida or somewhere where the cost of living is so high when I can go to Texas or I can go to Ohio or I could go somewhere else where now I put my family in a position where we can prosper because we're living within our means.
mm,
Uh, what are you holding on to? The scenic view of the ocean that's got pollution and crap floating in the water. I mean, what's so special about the certain places that you just got to be there and live in such a substandard lifestyle that you're underneath a bridge or you're living in a tent or a cardboard box or you're living in your vehicle because you
mhm.
cannot afford the housing. To me, use your common sense, move somewhere where the cost of living is so high so now you can prosper and give your family a decent lifestyle. It's
Mm.
ridiculous to be holding on to something that's falling apart for you. I don't see the sense in that myself, but you
I
know,
mean, I agree. I agree. I definitely agree. I think, unfortunately, that the homeless rate is just not in California, though. That's the problem. Is that you go to a lot of these cities and people, there's a number of people sleeping under bridges and in parks, and in these tent cities. They're cropping up throughout the nation. And then I don't know if you all have ever been on YouTube and saw some of the streets that are in America, where people are just seriously drugged out, so the situation is really, really bad, and um, I think that, government, I think the government is going to have to restructure and be more people oriented rather than, like I said, profit driven, because capitalism is literally eating its own children, and the children of the future. Look at how much debt they're going to be up under, and so it's just, yeah, everything has to literally reset, and I think that reset is going to be a painful situation that we're all going to be looking at here.
When I think about it, though, brother, I don't know. I can't think of one country in the world that does not put profit over people.
Well, like I said, I think that, if people looked at, and once again, Libya was an example. Like America wanted to frame Muammar Gaddafi and the Libyan people, but they had free health care, they had free education, they got a stipend when they got married. There was no homeless there, and of course, none of this. See, this is what I'm saying about the mainstream media. The mainstream media is controlled by, in many cases, the military industrial complex, so that when they go, and this same thing was done in the time of the Native Americans. First, they had to frame them, label them as savages so that they could treat them savagely. And so now you see this same thing going on that took place in Libya. But I would ask the people to look at what Libya was doing, and the rate and the standard of living. So America, unfortunately, America shouldn't. I don't think that America should even be compared to other countries. It should be better than other countries with with the amount of wealth that America has. I don't even see how it should even, no other country should even compare. But yet America is falling behind other countries, especially when it comes down to infrastructure. Like I keep saying, why is there no train running from Columbus to Dayton to Cincinnati? Where we're looking over in China, which once again, there's this framing. China got bullet trains. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, and the reason why is once again profit. They want you in the cars buying the gas because America runs off of the petrol dollar. And so they don't mind you being jammed up on the highway for hours when you could be on a train and get there within an hour. Once again, it's profit. I hate to say it, but things got to change in order for them to get better. I think that's my 2 cents.
Well, I'm going to say this, truck and bus in our area is called something else now. And there's a person that's there that I know that's Asian. He's from China. And he felt when he came over here that it was so much nicer because he could just go out and get a driver's license, where in China it costs $25,000 to get a driver's license. That's the reason why the majority of people, they can't afford the cars, they can't afford the driver's license, so they ride the train. Now, society, if you get too much to people, you take away the will to fight for something. And it makes for a weak man. It makes for a weak society. I mean, today we have kid teams that are playing each other and everybody gets a participation trophy. For what? For what? There's no incentive to strive and to be better. I don't have to do anything and I'm going to get a trophy. You start at that level, and as they come up, you keep catering to people. And people are going to get mad when I say this. The world does not owe you understanding. The world does not owe you sympathy. My dad told me the road you choose will take you where you want to go. And he said, in this world, you have to root hog or you die poor. If their streets were full of people that are drugged out, it's because they made that choice. Anytime that you hit rock bottom so hard that you can't bounce up. You've been smacked it so hard that now there's only one direction to go, and that is up. And that person that has that hunger in his heart and that determination, that's a hard person to stop from climbing to the top, because he's done hit the bottom and he didn't like it. He couldn't live like that no more. He made a conscious decision that I want to do better, so I'm going to do better. And now he's a man on a mission. He's on a laser path, red hot, and ain't nothing going to stop him from moving up. But until people hit that bottom where they can't bounce up and there's no hands reaching out to help them, now it comes down to you. And in survival, it comes down to the individual first. And then once you can save yourself, now you can save other people and you can work on building that community. But survival starts with you first. But the world don't owe nobody understanding or sympathy. You have to be competitive out here. You have to fight for what you want. You a predator or you prey. And that's the attitude that you got to take. But I'll stop there.
I mean, I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's exactly what I'm saying. So my thing, I said this one time before when we first started doing this, we lack personal responsibility. I think we want to rely on the government too much for certain things. This is why the system is jacked up. And like I said, I've been to 21 countries. When I went to Japan, I didn't realize alcoholism was a thing. You never hear about it, but you can go to the subway right now and they're kids 10, 11, 12 drunk, just laying all out like we see people laying in Philadelphia High. They just drunk, laying all out. The first time I went to China, and this is when China and Hong Kong weren't separated the way they are now. The first time I went to China, which was in the 80s, the women were still walking a half step behind the men. The last time I went in the early 2000s, man, at that time, it was like New York City when I went to some of the cities. You know what I mean? So I think we, along with that buckling down, we got to get some personal responsibility. We can't be reckless out here. You mentioned you mentioned certain lifestyles earlier, Brother Steve, and those lifestyles come with a cost.
Right.
Everything comes with a cost. It comes with a cost to make a baby irresponsibly. It comes with a cost to buy yourself a Mercedes, and your Mercedes costs more than where you live. It comes with a cost. And I think those things are just rearing their ugly head. So a lot of things that's happening is due to how the whole world is ran. That's what I mean when I'm saying it earlier. I think the exact same problems we got here, it's exactly everywhere else. We don't hear it and don't see it all because they don't allow it to be heard and be seen. I know in China, you can't say but so much. In Russia, you can't say but so much. You can't display but so much. And I know people who are here who do media stuff from other countries, and they can't say the things they want to say here on media because their families live in other countries. So I agree with what Aaron is saying. You know what, boy? Trying to grow up. I laugh at some of the younger people who, and I say young, I'm talking about people in their 20s and 30s, and they so entitled, so privileged. When I was young, I was making good money, and I always had 2 or 3 jobs because I wanted more. I wouldn't. It wasn't enough. I wanted more. I didn't want to have to buy a car on a 5-year loan. I said, man, 2 years, I'm paying this car off. So you know what I did? I got another job. And 25 years ago, I made $88,000 a year, and I got another job. Yeah, I think along with what's happening with the country, and like you're talking about some of the civil problems we have, and people having unrest. Well, you know what they need to do before they go outside and raise hell? Look in the mirror.
Absolutely right.
Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, what can I do now? I don't like this. What can I do now to get away from this? And so you think, so you shall be. And so if you don't get tough, you're gonna drown.
I can agree to a certain degree, right? I think that once again, when we were coming up, the dollar had more value than what the dollar has today. So I think
But
that
wait a
when
minute, let me interject something right
yeah,
there.
mhm,
You're right, but you know who else had more value? Human beings.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah, I
you
think
had a more
right.
moral sense and conscious. So we have declined as the
Hmm.
dollar has declined.
Yes, absolutely. Now, so the question is where is that moral decline coming from? Because it's not coming from the people. So this is where you have government and you have these media institutions who should cultivate a more decent human being, but they're not doing that. What we see on television and what we hear on the radio stations that they allow to be played, what you can access on the internet. We live in a cesspool, across the board. And so if you have this being pumped out to the people, it's garbage in, garbage out. You know what I'm saying? And so, and once again, if you do have someone who stands up and speaks truth to this type of power, and wants to talk about media, or wants to talk about how there is a moral collapse that's occurring in America, then they become the public enemy and ostracized. So this is the direction that it seems that America is going in. It doesn't seem to want any type of true morality. And then now what I'm hearing is they're trying to go and make America a Christian nation, where its religion, I guess, is Christianity. Christianity is already the major religion in America, and look at the condition that it's in right now. So I don't know why they think that that's going to make it any better, but once again, I think that it's responsibility definitely on the individual, but the individual is shaped by the society. And that's why they say it takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a village to destroy a child. And so, yeah, I just don't. And that's why, when you look at the education, people, listen to this here. It says that the PISA scores, US ranks 38th in math, 38th, 24th in science. Globally, it says college enrollment has dropped 1.9 million fewer students since 2010. And so, a lot of people are looking at the educational system and are very upset, at the educational system. So the whole system, once again, is something that has to be reformed, because it's just not working for the American people, like, at all.
Yeah, I agree with that, but that's why the Department of Education is going to be dismantled. That's why it's going to be dismantled because it's not working. But I still
Right.
got to go back when you talk about the government. You know what my father told me. My father said, "You take care of your own backyard. If you take
Right.
care of your own backyard, everything else will take care of itself." I I think it's a cop out when we put it on the government and we don't stand up and put it on ourselves. I think a lack of parenting, the lack
Mhm.
of discipline, that you got more educated in your house when I was coming up, because guess what everybody had to do? When my father
Mhm.
got home, when my mother served dinner, we all sat down at the table and ate together.
Right.
That's a conscious decision of a family. I don't give a damn what the government say. Mr. Whitlow said you go sit here and eat dinner at 6:30 when we all get here and eat dinner. You was gonna eat everything on your plate. You was gonna get up and leave after you was asked, could you be excused? And it was
Right.
done. So I don't care what the government did. That was gonna happen because the household was run by a man who was in control of the household, who had a moral consciousness. And
Right.
and, and so and I understand what you're saying, how strong social media is and all that kind of stuff. But social media and all this stuff is only strong because we, the people, have allowed it to be that way.
Right.
Everything we look at right now, if we cut off this idiot box, guess what happened? Ain't nobody looking at it. Somebody has to be the one in that house to say, hey, you don't do this. Hey, pull your pants up. You can't buy pants that don't fit. Take them back.
Yeah.
See,
right.
I'm talking about to the core things. And until we get that core thing, I can't blame the government for us being lazy. I can't blame the government for a man irresponsibly making a child. And if he makes a child, not doing what he has to do to make sure he's in that child's life, to teach that child morals, to teach that child a way of living, to teach that child some understanding and respect. I can't blame the government. The government might say it's okay. They might make a system where they pay somebody not to be at home. That don't mean you got to do it. That don't mean you got to do it. When they said that the man put drugs into the cities and I'm not saying it's not true, but then nobody make you get high.
Yeah, right. But there is policy though. I mean, the government makes policy, and those policies either benefit or adversely affect the majority of the people. So once again, going back to, for instance, the living wage. So a lot of parents can't sit down at the table and have that family meal, because I definitely agree with what they're saying. But because they have to work 2 or 3 jobs, sometimes there's nobody there at home to actually look at raising that child. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, so this is where I say that, this is where government has the its responsibility. If it wants to make a decent country, then it has to look out for the family. If it doesn't, if every policy that the government made was a policy that made and ensured that family was strong, then you'd have a strong country. But it doesn't do that. And so I agree definitely with what you're saying, that, if you have a ma and a pa sitting down there at the table and they're eating their grits and victuals and what all, a little bit of country, but if they're doing that, then I definitely agree 100%. Unfortunately, I think that, for many people, they would love to do that, but they can't do it. You know what I'm saying? It's just not it's not even an option, because they have to go out and work, So, I just think that, I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Listen, it says that as far as the homeless, there are 653,000 homeless. That was in 2023, 12% increase from 2022. And then, as we know, it just has been increasing from that point on. And so at some point, something has to be done, because there are vacant houses. And so this housing problem, there is a solution, but I don't think that there's enough attention from government to solve this solution. And if you don't solve the solution, then it's going to only get worse. It can't get better. It can't get better. So if you have individuals who say that this is a solution, and then the government just ignores the solution because some politician is getting their pockets greased by what, I forget what it's called, these financial institutions that buy these homes, and then you can't really get into them because they're so overpriced. I wish I could think of that name, but yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That shouldn't be allowed at all. Another thing people should look up is, when they get a chance, the Glass-Steagall Act, that had a barrier between financial institutions and banks. But when that was dissolved, then they allowed these balloon interest rates and things like that to happen, where many people bought homes and then lost their homes because of these balloon interest rates. That's a crime right there. That's a crime. And so, of course, nobody goes to jail for these type of crimes. They get bailed out. That's what happens. And so the American people are upset. They're upset, and they're upset at government, at the Congress, at the Senate, that are supposed to be representatives, but they don't represent. They represent they represent corporations, and so should be called corporatism, because they represent corporations more than they represent the people. So, like you said, I do think that Trump, let's give credit where credit is due. I mean, we may not like, what he's doing or how he's doing it, but we do all definitely agree that something has to be done. And I think that, like you say, he's trying to do something, and we may have to, as you're saying, Brother Aaron, bite the bullet. But I think also that government, big money interest, has to be taken out of government. These special interest groups and these lobbying groups, they have more of a voice in the ear of the politician than the American people. That right there is not that right there is wrong. And it's just, yeah. So I'll just end with my little rant on that topic right there. So let's look. So let's see what here we're going. We can go about maybe 15 more minutes. Let's see here. A hard one here. Okay, military geopolitics. It says the defense spending. The U.S. spends 886 billion more than the next 10 nations combined. 886 billion. Afghanistan withdrawal in 2021, stalemate in Ukraine and in the Middle East. So, one of the things that it talks about is that Rome, one of the problems that Rome had is it overstretched its military, and it put so much into military where the people were suffering. And so now, there's this talk about going to war with Iran. If America were to go to war with Iran, that would cause total collapse of the economy, and it would cause total collapse of the food supply. It would just be devastating if that were to happen. And why? Why would they go to war with Iran? Yeah. So diplomacy,
Is that a
whatever
question?
happened to the? Yeah. Go right ahead. Let's kick it. Let's end it up with this conversation.
Why would they go to war with Iran?
Mm-hmm.
Because one, Iran's supplying the terrorist groups with weaponry to go hurt innocent people with. That's a reason in itself. They
All right.
are bullying the other Arab nations in the area. I'll use United Arab Emirates. I use Oman, different ones where we have military bases at. Uh, because of threats Iran has made to their oil refineries, their boats, their shipping, because oil is their industry, that now they don't want the United States to launch any weapons or any attacks on Iran from those bases that are within their country because they're afraid Iran's going to attack them,
Mm-hmm.
which 9 times out of 10 they will. Iran ain't going to attack. Well, they will try to hit the United States, but they're going to go after those that they can bully. If the United States attacks them, you watch and see, won't they attack Israel? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Does Israel have to attack them? No. All they have to do is be an ally with the United States, and that's enough reason for Iran to want to attack you. So the bully's going to have to get knocked down and set up. As far as the world's food, as far as the United States food supply going to collapse, nope, ain't about to happen. During World War II, 45% of the yards in the United States, people grew food in their backyards. And in the front yards, they grew herbs. Today, less than 1% of people are using their yards to grow food. Why did they grow food back then? Because if you didn't grow food, you didn't eat. You were on a ration card. Government was rationing food to people. So if you wanted to have extra, you had to raise it, you had to grow it. And your backyards was what they did with it. They didn't grow lawns. Only the rich folks had lawns. The regular folks was growing food, vegetables, rabbits, chickens, quail, and I can't think of this other bird in their backyards, because if they wanted fresh meat or they wanted vegetables, they had to grow it. That's called adapting to the environment. 45% during World War II was doing that in the United States versus less than 1% today. So when we get on this war footing, will there be shortages? Yes. Can we compensate for them on an individual basis? Yes. And if you choose not to grow anything, if you choose to sit back and wait for the government to give it to you, then you get what you deserve. You got to get these hands dirty. You got to put in the work. If you want to sit back and wait on the freebies, then hey, just like these women that are having these children that you said, we should be helping these people. There should not be access to the womb until there's a ring on the finger. You should not be popping blood babies out until someone has married you. Now, if you want to do it the other way around, that's a choice you made. Now you have to live with the results of those choices. I'm not going to give you sympathy or understanding. And if you want to do better, you got to put in the work. You got to go back to school. You got to re-educate. If you didn't get a high school diploma, now you got to get your GED if you want to go up and pay. If you want to go better, not yes, education is going down in the United States because people are going from colleges to tech schools. And they're learning how to be bricklayers, they're learning how to be plumbers, they're learning how to be electricians, because those are $75,000 to $100,000 a year jobs, and they don't have to be in school for 4 years to learn that. There's shortcuts around the system. There's all kinds of programs out there to help people, but if they're too lazy to get off their ass and go get it, then the effort you put in is what you're going to get. So I don't give no sympathy if they don't want to put in the work. If we've been telling people to prepare, if they choose not to prepare, hey, that's fine. You will pay for it. The pain is coming and you're going to feel it. Those who prepare will feel it a lot less and will thrive through the situation where you'll be complaining that the government ain't doing enough to help you. Well, get off your ass and help yourself. Root hog or die poor. I'll stop there.
Hoorah!
Hoorah! Brother Sanford, what about yourself as far as
well, I think Aaron said it all. I don't have I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel exactly how he does. Man, you know, now
let me say this, let me say this. Look at what happened during COVID. They was giving away free money to people so they didn't have to go to work. And then at the end, did they want to go back to work? No, they want to stay home and keep drawing the free money. They felt that they could make more money staying at home. There was no incentive to go back to work. We've seen these programs. They make lazy people. Stop giving to them and make them be responsible for themselves. This life of ours is our responsibility, not nobody else's. Nobody owes Aaron nothing. I got to get out and make things happen.
Not only that, Aaron, when they gave him the free money, I say free money, when they gave him the money, you know what? I bet you can't, I bet if every 100, you'll find 5 to say, you know what? I took that stimulus check and invested some of that money. No, they went out and bought cars. They went out and bought clothes. They went out and bought
gambling casinos.
Right. Right.
Hey, this is This is what I'm talking about. And we can look at the people, the individual. Once again, I mean, I know you all might not agree, but I say, what responsibility is government that's supposed to govern over the affairs of the people to make sure that the people are properly educated, and so like what you all are saying, as far as in going and spending that money on frivolous things, maybe if they were educated on how to invest their money, are educated on how to properly save their money. None of that is happening. None of that is happening.
Well,
I agree with
brother,
what you all
wait a
was.
minute. Let me show you something, brother Steve.
Mm-hmm,
This thing right here, this idiot box, it's got everything in the world on it. And you know what we want to do? We want to look at YouTube. We want to look at Instagram. Every opportunity on this idiot box right here, I'm holding in my hand, has everything.
It does.
That was a conscious decision to take. I don't know how much was a stimulus check. How much was it?
It was conscious to a degree. So consciousness or choices all depend on your ability to even know what the choices are. So I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you that you can now go on your phone, and I think a lot of young people are going on their phones because the educational system is crap.
Yeah,
it is crap.
But what I'm
That's
saying,
the way that you're going to learn anything nowadays. You have to, what you all are saying is you have to take the initiative yourself and circumvent the propaganda system that is trying to make you just a clog in the wheel.
But the consciousness is supposed to come from daddy and mama.
But there's no daddy and mama. The family has been destroyed.
Wait a minute, but that's our fault. Ain't nobody made you lay down with this woman and make a baby. That's why I was saying nobody made you do that. Nobody made you do that, brother.
And I'm gonna go back further. When I was in school, from second grade up, I was one of the smartest guys in the class of men, and I was considered a geek.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only geek that played sports. I could get in there with the jocks and play with them, but I watched kids around me just throw the education away. They didn't want to learn nothing. They didn't want to try. They weren't trying to excel at anything. You go to China or Japan, man, everybody is pushing the smarter kids to be the smartest. The camaraderie inside the classroom is everybody wants to compete to be that smart kid. Where in the United States school system, if you're smart and you stand out, you're going to get bullied. You're going to get pushed around, and they're going to try to destroy your morale so you be nothing just like them.
Totally
And
different culture, right?
I chose to get into martial arts later on. I got the bullies off of me because they were nothing but damn leeches. And I ain't looked back since. And anything that I apply myself at, and the key word is apply.
Yeah,
I have
agree.
excelled at it. Now, if I want to sit back and I'm waiting on free handouts, or I want the sympathy and I want people to give me a free house or something, then there's no motivation for me to get an education. Because all I got to do is be a dumbass all my life. And when I get grown, I'm going to get a free house. I'm going to get free money. I'm going to get free benefits. For what?
Mm-hmm.
I ain't earned shit. I know a girl right now that ain't worked her entire life, lived off the system, had the nerve to go apply for Social Security, and they told her, and me and her same age, they told her, you ain't paid into the system. You're not entitled to anything. She applied 4 times, got turned down 4 times because she's never paid into the system. There's no money waiting on her. She's never worked. All she did was hustle guys for free money. Now it's done went full circle. You hustled, now you're going to pay for a lifetime of throwing your life away. Now there's no money for you in your elderly years when these women need this money to take care of their health and to take care of their housing because they have no husband in the home that's going to provide for them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to do it backwards, you're going to pay for it somewhere down the road. I don't know anybody that hustled anybody that's rich behind it today. It's like they've all fell on hard times, and all those riches they acquired, they've lost it all. I don't know of no one personally on that level. Now, you want to throw up some movie star or something, maybe you could find that obscure case. But I'm going with what is the norm, what's going to happen 90% of the time, not the exception to the rule. I give a hell about the exception because it happens so few times, you can't count it in the ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to start giving away everything to everybody, then we don't need an education system. It's going to
Right.
be given to us.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
no reason to try. There's no reason
Yeah.
for me to try in school. Uh, you make for a weak society. You make for weak men. We need
Yeah,
people
I
that are
agree.
strong, that can stand up and face adversity and be problem solvers, not people sitting back waiting on it to be given to them. I'll
Mm-hmm.
stop
Mm-hmm.
there.
Now I can't disagree with that at all. I agree 100% with that. 100%. And I believe that I think that men, especially, want to be able to do something for. I don't think that men, our nature gravitates towards someone giving us something, and that we really want to apply what's in our mind and use our physical prowess. I believe that that's the case. But I believe also that America has domesticated a large its population to such a degree that like you said, if everything were to just collapse, a lot of people, they have made some dogs, domesticated dogs, to where they have breeded them in such a way that they could not survive without an owner.
Yeah. Right.
That's how human beings have become today in America, especially, that they could not survive without an owner, without someone looking out over them. And that's why some people who are in jail, when they get out, they want to go right back in, because they need that type of authority over them to tell them what to do and what not to do and to give them this meal. But yeah, so I definitely agree. I definitely agree with what you're saying. Now and I guess we can go ahead and end it with any last thoughts as this program closes out. And we'll go with you, Brother Aaron, and then Brother Sanford, and then we'll just close it on out.
Well, I'm gonna tell everybody right now, the pain's coming, and it'll probably be here for at least 3 years. You better be preparing. You better be putting things back. Uh, with these tariffs going into effect, things is going to cost more. The world overall is preparing for war and economic collapse at the same time.
Mm.
So you better wake up, see what's happening, and start adapting while you still can, because no one knows when the day before is actually the day before something goes down. And you're not going to have the time later to be able to do anything. And if you do, your money's not going to stretch very far. Keep in mind that during disasters, you've seen in different areas where a case of water that would run you $4 suddenly becomes 42, 48, even $100. You've seen motel bills double, triple in disaster zones. You've seen everything go up. So right now, you can get the most for your buck. You better be preparing. I'll
Hmm.
stop there.
Absolutely. Brother Sanford.
I'm gonna end it with something. I'm in the process of writing 2 books, right?
Mm,
And one of the books that I'm writing is based on the sayings and stuff that my parents and my uncles and them said. They had little meanings behind it. And one of the things my father told me, I was 19. I'll never forget. I walked through the kitchen. He said, "Sam, come here for a second." And he had it was a big marker. He said, "Write down the word life in capital letters. LIFE." I wrote it down. He said, "Circle the 2 letters in the middle." I said, "What?" He said, "The 2 letters in the middle, boy. Circle the 2 letters in the middle. The I and the F." I circled that. He said, Life is about the two letters in the middle. They told me to go ahead. 3 or 4 days later, he said, "You understand what I meant?" He said, "That if in life, that's what it's about. If you make the right decisions, if you prepare, if you think a certain way, if you act a certain way, things work out. More than likely, they'll work out a certain way. Nothing's guaranteed." So, as Aaron was saying, you better get prepared and remember, life, that LIFE, is about the two letters in the middle. The two letters in the middle are if. So, if you make a conscious decision to do the right thing, you may be able to cause yourself less grief, and you may be able to navigate through what's coming. That's where I'll stop at.
All right. And I'll just say that I definitely agree with what all you all have just said. And definitely, that was very interesting what you said, Brother Aaron, about the depression. And, 1% of today's homes have yards, and the churches too. And so I'm thinking, one of the things that I just want to say before we close out as we prepare for these hard times is food and gold. Food and gold. That's what I'm gonna say. Invest in growing your own food and gold, because those are going to be the two mediums, if you will, of exchange, along with your skills. Get some type of skill, so that you can be valuable. And with that, look at growing your community partnerships. And I'll just go ahead and end it with that. And so what I'll go ahead and do, brothers, is I'm going to go ahead and play just some more of the lecture by the minister. And so you all can stick around if you want. But if not, I want to let everyone know, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Share us on or follow us across the social media platforms. Just go at Refuge Depot and you'll find us on the different social media platforms. And we have some great news coming up here soon, so stay tuned. And with that, thank you, brothers. Talk to you soon.
All right,
I'll
all
go ahead
right.
and play this. Yes. Let me hit this button here. Hold on.
God always chooses somebody.
All right.
He doesn't let the country go without warning, and that warning and that guidance is mercy from God. God is so magnificent and magnanimous to people who reject him, disbelieve in him, still out of love and respect for his own integrity. He will not allow you to sink without a warning first. He chooses from the despised and the rejected and puts the solution in the head of a slave. So if you don't have any respect for human life or for the class of the person in whose head the solution is, then you'll miss the solution to your problems. In the book of Esther, God put the problem, the solution, in the head of Queen Esther, a woman. Queen Esther uncovered a plot that would have caused unjust death to be visited upon the Jewish people. But the king was not a sexist. He heard her warning, he heeded her warning, and he spared the Jews, thereby sparing himself from the wrath of God. If that king had been inclined towards sexism, he would have rejected her warning and he would have sentenced himself and his country to the chastisement of God. Sexism is sinking America. Classism is sinking America. Racism is sinking America. White supremacy is sinking America. And black inferiority and a slave mentality is sinking black people in this country. So, my brothers and sisters, I am saying to you, We must be open to truth no matter from whom it comes, no matter the source, because the ultimate source is God himself. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if you're used to eating out of a gold bowl and get hungry, don't reject food because it comes in an old pot. You hungry? Take the food or die in your folly. God has chosen from among the former slaves, and he has put in our heads a light, a torchlight out of America's worsening condition for black people and for all of America. But America's treatment of us, the Muslims, America's treatment of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is like the proud kings of Babylon. It's terrible that you label me a Hitler. You label me a hater. You label me an anti-Semite so that you can justify your people or your agents from among our people killing me. This is hiding the light. This is scapegoating. And the reason you desire to hide the truth is you want to continue to feed your own greed. You don't desire to live in a free society, a just society, and an equal society for all of the country's people. You are a rebel against God, and as Jesus said, you are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father you shall do. He was a murderer in the beginning and abode not in the truth. And any man who will not speak or abide in the truth is a murderer of the human spirit and the law of liberty, for only truth gives us true liberty. And this is why it is written that it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to see the kingdom of God. The rich are unwilling to sacrifice to lift the poor because of their basic greed and immorality. And therefore today the rich are in trouble. So the scripture says, come now, you rich man, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and your silver are cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as though it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth. And the cries of them who have reaped have entered into the ears of the Lord of the Sabbath. You have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he does not resist you. And so, my beloved brothers and sisters, the country has a serious problem, as in deep trouble, and needs a torchlight out of the abyss of darkness. Every black man or woman that has risen up among us to warn America, teach America, guide America by guiding us, America has killed them. We lost Martin Luther King, not because King was a bad man. We lost Martin Luther King because America did not want to hear a word that would make her a just society. So America kills your leaders. America kills your leaders and then names streets after them. But the leader's dream dies and you ride on Martin Luther King Boulevard. They reduce Martin Luther King to a simple word: we have a dream. They reduce Malcolm X to by any means necessary. They kill your leaders and then give you your leaders in debt to blind you to the living wrong that God never takes one from you. That he don't give you one to comfort you. Look at your scripture, Reverend. When Jesus was about to go, he knew he was going to die. He said, I will pray the Father that he will send you another comforter. I'm not going to leave you comfortless. So even when God takes one that you love, look around, there's another one somewhere coming on up to carry the torch. But of course, if you watch the American white people, they never glorify their dead. They bury their dead, celebrate the living, follow the living, and remember the best of their dead. You don't hear them talking about John Kennedy every day. John Kennedy was. Bill Clinton is. So they're not telling you vote for Kennedy. They're telling you vote for Clinton. Abraham Lincoln was. Bush is. They're not telling you vote for Abraham Lincoln. Stay with Bush. That's what they're saying. But when it comes to you, they kill your leaders. Then when they feel the time is right, they resurrect them and give you dead leaders to blind you to living realities. There is no dead man that can lead a living people. You say, wait a minute, Jesus is my leader. Jesus is not dead. You say Muhammad is my leader. Muhammad is not dead. You say Moses is my leader. I say Moses is not dead. Because there is no grave that can hold the divine spirit of life that emanates from a prophet or servant of God. So you ask, Brother Farrakhan, what is your guidance for black people? And what is your guidance for America? If America wants to come out of debt, there's no way that she can come out of it without reducing spending. And she must increase taxes. That's a bitter pill for anybody to swallow. But America got to come clean. Come to the American people and say, look, we're in trouble. We need your help. Will you tighten your belt for a few years? Will you save over here and give over here so we can balance the budget, so we can put a future in front of our children? The American people would sacrifice. You did it in World War II. I was a baby, and I saw my mother in the kitchen taking fat from the frying pan and putting it in tin cans, saving the fat because the war industry needed the fat. Evidently, it had some use in making bullets. I saw my poor mother go into the 5 and 10 cent store to sell war stamps and war bonds, to sacrifice hours of her time so that America could survive. The spirit is in the people to sacrifice, but when you lie to them, when you make them think everything is all right when everything is all wrong, then the people say to hell with paying more taxes, because I don't trust the leader who's asking me to sacrifice, because he's been a liar in the past. Look at the Nation of Islam. We have no money, but we do with no money what you can't do with all your money. We are offering you a torchlight, a way out of this. America has to be honest. Clinton is right. They have to tax the rich Did you know that the rich have gotten away with murder? Did you know that more than 80% of the taxes are paid by the American public? In fact, 83% of all taxes are paid by the people. Only 17% of taxes are paid by the corporations. In the 1950s, the corporations used to make up 39% of the total taxing of the American people. Now the corporations are paying only 17%. Who made the law that let the rich out, that let the corporations out, and put the burden of government on the poor? Who did this? Just give me a few more minutes. I want to show you the wickedness that's been going on in government. You, the poor, you put your money in savings and loans. But the Congress makes laws giving the rich loopholes out of paying taxes. The poor people have no real advocates. Most of the congresspersons, those in the Senate and the House of Representatives, they're not poor like you or me. Those persons come from the privileged class of people. Is that true? They are from the rich for the most part. Since they're from the rich, they make laws to protect the riches of the rich. Now, did you know that it was Congress who passed laws to make it easy for corporations to borrow billions of dollars from the banks? Instead of the corporations using the money to update their plants, retrain their workers, they use your money to close down the plant and open up a new one overseas with the government's permission, putting the same worker who put their money in the banks out of a job. Are you listening? That's kind of vicious, isn't it? Now they put the job in Mexico, in Taiwan, or somewhere else where labor is cheap. You don't have a job. And when you go to the bank, you can't borrow money. It's your little money in the bank. You can't even get an automobile that tell you, well, your credit's not good enough. Your bank account's not fat enough. But the rich can take the money of the poor and sink it into foreign plants. So now that the savings and loan industry is in trouble, Mr. Bush could find $500 billion quickly. You in trouble. The cities are in trouble. He haven't found nothing for you yet. We, the Nation of Islam, I want you to study the nation. Look at us. We come from the poor. We were the drug users. We were the whiskey drinkers. We were the gang bangers. We were the criminals. We were college people with no direction for our life. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad called us to a purpose and made our lives useful. You say, oh, come on, Ken. That little small group of people you have with you, I mean, so what? You know what's interesting to me? After the debates the other night, they took a poll. Maybe 70 million people watched the debate. They didn't poll 70 million people. They took a representative sampling. And then they came back after that representative sampling to tell us how the people thought about who won the debate. White folk, you call that scientific.
Go ahead, Jim Potts, go ahead.
They get 1,200 people. CNN, Gallup poll, this is the way America feels about Clinton, about Bush. Well, I got more than a sample.
That's right.
We got them in the nation from every walk of life.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And I don't care what you say about Farrakhan, examine my work. For my work is a testimony that I'm on the same path that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put me on, and that is a successful path. Every brother that comes into the nation, he got to have a job. If he doesn't have a job, he has to be able to create a job, or we create one for him. But nobody can hang around in the nation doing nothing.
Good teacher.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said welfare meant farewell to self-reliance, farewell to self-independence, farewell to the growth and development of self. But I want to say that I'm a child of welfare. I know that it is necessary to have a safety net under the people, but it is wrong for the people to abuse that safety net. My mother was not a welfare abuser. I watched that woman take her pennies and use them wisely from her welfare check. And she would sit at her machine at night and sew dresses and whatnot to make extra money to give me my music lessons and my brother. So when the social worker came to our home, she saw a clean house that you could eat off the floor. She saw decent furniture, an organized home. And she asked my mother, how could you get this kind of home on what we give you for welfare? My mother, in her clipped West Indian accent, said to the social worker, and you think I want to live off of just that little meager thing you give me? You don't think I aspire for the better things in life? She said, but you need to report that you are making more money than what we give. She said, Jane, come. Alvin, come. Bring your violin. Sit down at the piano. Play for the woman. And when that woman heard us play, she broke down in tears. She said, I want for my children what you want for yours. And so I take in sewing at night to give my children a chance to make something better of themselves than I was able to make of myself. Listen, brothers and sisters. All praise is due to Allah. When I graduated from high school, a welfare check came to my house, and my mother took the check and walked back to the welfare office and gave it to the woman and said, I thank you for helping me to get my child through high school, and now I will take it from here. That was a proud black woman. That was a decent black woman. And I submit to you that there are countless hundreds of thousands of black women out there, just like my mother, who don't want to be on welfare, but they're thankful to God that there is welfare. But they would want to get off of welfare. Shouldn't they? Of course they should. How do you get them off? The government of America is spending 5/100% of her gross national product in retraining the American worker. That's criminal. The American worker has given to America everything, and the government is giving to the American worker little or nothing. When you hear President Bush talk about keeping the troops at a certain level in Europe, and Clinton talking about reducing the troops because there's no longer a threat of nuclear war, you have to ask yourself, they have already reduced some of the troop levels. Those troops are coming back to America. What are they coming back to? Where are they going to work? Who's going to retrain them to fit them into a service-oriented economy? The government is not spending the money. Even the veterans who come home sick, the government is trying to get out of paying them. They're just due. Oh, man. Well, what is your torchlight, Farrakhan? We submit that the government needs to re-educate the people, stimulate the people to make a sacrifice. Everything we in the nation have, we got it because these that believe made a sacrifice. We don't order or take their money. We teach them and they give their money. So we're able to buy schools and farmland, set up newspaper plants. It is because we make the sacrifice to get what we want. The American people will make that sacrifice if the government would be honest. Television is so greedy. They love money and profit over the well-being of America's thought processes. And so they feed the American public entertainment, foolishness, when the television could be used to educate the American people almost overnight. Do you know that each one of these that are with me, they eat the best of foods?
That's right.
They have a dietary law that they follow.
Yes, that's right.
And if we follow the dietary law and teachings given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that's our health insurance plan.
Yes, sir.
We have preventive medicine,
That's right.
so that we are not in the hospitals with these expensive operations. We are trying to heal ourselves through preventive measures. All America needs to do is use the airwaves properly. Teach the American people what foods to eat, how best to cook it. Teach the American mother how to take care of her body, how to look after her baby, how to clean up the environment of that household. And you will find disease going down and health going up. And the healthcare cost that is over $1 trillion, you could cut that cost and put that money into revitalizing the cities and the infrastructure of the cities. It's not hard, but you just gotta be honest. We're healthy. We're strong. I'll be 60 years old in a few months. Wait. You don't know what I'm about to say. I'm not any decrepit 60-year-old man. I'm not a weak 60-year-old man. I'm a strong 60-year-old man. No. I'm not saying this for vanity's sake. I don't believe in sickness, and I don't believe in dying till I'm ready. Some may believe they can help me think a little better on dying, but I would advise America to leave me alone. I don't think it's wise for America. I don't think it's wise for black people. I don't think it's wise for those who don't like me because you don't understand or disagree with me philosophically or ideologically or religiously. I don't think it's wise for you to plan to do harm to me.
That's right.
I didn't come this far without a God. And the more America and others try to hurt me, the more you find God helping me. This is not an accident that happened here tonight. This is the reality that God is with Brother Farrakhan. And he's with me because I'm standing with his servant, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a man that God gave a torchlight for America and a torchlight for you.